morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, coming at you with House of the Dragon Episode 3. Nelson, how you doing?
Never had a bad day in my life.
There you go.
What'd you think of this episode? I guess before we get into it, let's give a little disclaimer. Jeff has not read Fire and Blood. He has read the normal book series and obviously seen the normal book show. There won't be any spoilers in this from Fire and Blood, so we're only talking about stuff that's already happened. We might talk about stuff that happened in the original TV show or the original book series. But yeah, Jeff, what'd you think as like a non-knower?
Underwhelming, but understand like some logistical things I think have to happen before this thing actually kicks off. But again, I'm like ready. I'm like on the edge of my seat for like someone to die at any second, right? And you know, nothing. A lot of conversations, which were fine. Like I'm sure they were really deep. You know, the conversations go deep, and there's a lot of moving going around, strategizing about what we're doing. But yeah, I think it was a fine episode. But I just think in comparison to the other ones, when it's all said and done, this will be an underwhelming one, I think.
Yeah, I think it maybe is better than 1. Again, you know, I wasn't a huge fan of 1, but definitely I think worse than 2. Again, I think they're slow rolling it for some reason. I don't know why. I also like heard that like HBO like told them they had to do 8 episodes instead of 10, and they were like upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, dude, you're not even seeming to fill 8 episodes with like there's action happening. Like you can speed this up a little bit, but I guess they're trying to get more like emotional beats.
Sure. And I don't want it to seem like, because I feel like we got maybe a little bit of when like we were grading, well, maybe when I was grading the season 8 episodes. So like I don't need a fight or battle or someone to die for it to be a good episode.
Sure, but I need the conversation to have a little bit more substance, I guess, and we can get into it because we can talk about it as we go. There were some things I really liked, some things I didn't like at all.
Some of them I just don't understand. Like anytime Corlys is in the picture, like he's just done nothing in 13 episodes. He has literally done nothing. Like I don't need to see him anymore till he does something.
I'm not saying he does anything, but there's definitely things that I think I understand from his scenes that you don't as like a book reader.
Yeah.
That I think will maybe make more sense like by the end of the season.
Sure. I've seen. I remember just last week I was given some shit about like why are we on the beach with the dragon flying around. Like I've seen like people. I haven't been spoiled about what happens, but like obviously it matters, right? They're not showing it because it doesn't matter. Nothing. So like something's gonna happen, but I just don't know what it is, and I can't even like think about what it's going. But I got some ideas of like I also was ready for some shit to happen. Yeah,
weird stuff with the dragons too. In this episode, like there was a part where Mysteria was like looking out over the bay, and a dragon was like kind of like her and Rhaenyra were having a conversation. And in the background, there's just like this dragon like screeching all the time,
just flying around, freaking out. Let's just jump into it because I'll talk about my things as we go.
There's one thing I want to say before we start. In the last episode, I did say that it wasn't Christian Cole's idea to send Eric, right? I said that in the book it was like a general council decision idea.
Yeah. Now the council is just sitting on him, but
I'm kind of wrong about that. I had reread part of the book over the weekend, and it's kind of things are kind of rearranged. Otto has been dismissed as hand before Eric gets sent off.
Okay.
He's dismissed just because he's not really doing anything. Then Christian Cole is hand. He proposes the idea to the council. Aegon kind of likes it.
Nobody else does.
It doesn't really say what anybody else thinks about it. But technically it was Christian Cole's idea, so I just wanted to get that out because I just hate when I'm wrong about something. So clearing the air there.
I want to say something from the last episode too.
Sure.
I was expecting Rhaenyra once Eric, the attacker, came in. Like she kind of really like hid. I thought being the queen, she would like be prepared to fight a little bit more.
Grab a sword. Yeah.
Grab something and like just try where like
throw a rock like Arya.
Do something, right. And she just kind of like, immediately hid. And I was like, eh.
Yeah, I think I saw some memes about that too.
Like she's going to be, I'm assuming she's going to be in some battles coming up. Like if she's not on her dragon, is she completely worthless to a battle? That's what it. I didn't think she would be that way, but that's what it now seems. And
I mean, just think about Bela. Like in this episode, we see Bela. If Bela's not on her dragon, is she?
For sure. I mean, no, I get it.
I was gonna say, is she useful in a battle? The answer is no.
Well, but she had that crossbow
last episode, so maybe she's got something to her.
She's at least, that's what I'm saying. Like, at least she's been trained with something.
Yeah, if Eric and Eric were popping off in her room, she's pulling that thing out. Whether she knows which one to shoot at is a different question. But yeah, she has some self-defense.
Yeah, it's at least going to be loaded with the chance to shoot whoever comes at her.
For sure. Yeah.
I didn't even think Rhaenyra looked like she was going to fight. I meant to say that last time, but I got caught up maybe in the Eric of it all.
Yeah.
I've also seen conflicting reports of which Eric actually won, but I saw that the director said that Rhaenyra's Eric was the one that won the battle.
I heard the other thing. I heard that it was confirmed that the one that you said was the opposite.
I've seen both.
But in the behind the episode, so I watched, there's like a 20-minute, there's like an 8-minute inside the episode that airs that's like right after. There's like a trailer for the next one, and then there's like
try not to watch any of it.
The 8-minute afterward thing is pretty interesting. Then they also put out like a different show altogether called like The Making of the Dragon or something like that. That's like 20 minutes long. I hadn't watched those until recently. I watched all of them, all 4 of those different things. Kind of interesting. The one thing that they do mention about the Eric fight is like we were kind of talk about like, oh, the one guy had the leg wound, the other guy didn't. They said that in the choreography they made it so that
made sure both of them had the same injuries. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So you couldn't go back because this is exactly what I did. I was like, oh fuck, that guy hurt his leg. That's that Eric. But I'd have to maybe go watch the actual scene again. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. So all right, let's come into episode 3 with Bracken and the Blackwoods arguing over land dispute.
Before that, actually, intro. There was a new piece.
Oh, fuck. I skipped it. I didn't expect a new piece. I completely skipped it.
Blood and Cheese was on there. I was like kind of not paying attention at the time. I was like getting my notes ready, but I looked up and it looked like a body. I think it was probably Jaehaerys' body with like the head sewn on.
Interesting.
And then a bunch of looked like rat catchers being hung.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look now. Interesting.
But yeah, so I think there's a new piece at the end of the tapestry.
They must have heard our complaints in the Discord about no change, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta throw something in real quick."
I don't think there'll be anything new after this episode. Nothing really, like we said, nothing really happened. So
yeah, Alicent and Rhaenyra in the Sept. With, Aemon laying next to his favorite concubine.
That was rough. That was a crazy scene. We'll get to it. But,
all right, so Bracken and Blackwoods.
As book fans, we know about this probably a little bit more than non-book fans. If you're a show only fan, probably don't know this huge. But this is a thing that is like just kind of like a running joke. It's in Dunk and Egg a couple times, I think. It's definitely part of the main series, like in the background. That like the part we're at now, I think Blackwoods and Brackens are on different sides. For a while there, they actually are on the same side, but that's the joke. It's like the houses just never get along. They always end up on opposite sides of conflicts. I think it happens here. I think it also happens in the Blackfire Rebellion. If you know what that means, you do. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. And then again, it happens at some point during the normal book series. And like they even allude to at some point in this chapter, they're like, Damon's like, why? And they're like, we don't know. It just it just keeps going back.
It's been going on for too long. Yeah. And even like it made me think of when Rhaenys was talking to Alicent about like what starts this war. Like at some point, like people aren't gonna remember what like actually kicked it off. But
yeah, I mean, she goes through a list of like different things that you could contribute to the beginning of it, right?
Yeah. So the Bracken was the Brackens were the ones that started the scene, right? In like yellow?
Yellow, yeah. Yellow with the red horse on their chest. Yep.
Okay. And then I've seen a bunch of posts about the Blackwood kid being the son of the young kid that slayed the knight going for Rhaenyra's hand.
Yeah, so the Brackwoods and Blackens kind of like going at the joke that they're always feuding. There was the episode, I think it was the scene that started off one of the episodes last season where Rhaenyra's sitting there listening to a bunch of suitors coming up. And there's like one little kid who's like kind of getting chirped at from the crowd. And Rhaenyra's like, all right, I'm out. And as she's walking away, he actually fights another guy and kills this bigger guy.
Yep.
That's a little Blackwood kid killing another Bracken kid, but like a slightly bigger kid.
It sounds like the Blackwoods are winning the fights. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look like many
this one was
won
kind
the
of
fight.
like a neutral fight.
We all died. Yeah. I think it would have been a little bit cooler. I don't know if it really mattered to like spend too much time on it. Like the important part, I guess that they're fighting and there's war about to be going off. Like it's already kind of popping off.
Yeah. Again, that battle is kind of more. I mean, it seems like it's more important in the book. They might get into why it's important later on, so I don't really want to talk too much about it. But yeah, like and again, I don't know anything about the relations. I'm pretty sure when I looked into it last season, those two people in that scene, the Brackwood and Blackman that kind of fought after that scene in season 1, were kind of made up. Not made up like they don't exist, but like they weren't in the books. That we don't know how if they are or how they're related to anybody. They do. I don't know if the two Blackwoods or Brackens in this scene are the named ones, but later, I forget what scene it is, but we're getting a report of the fighting, and we hear that, yes, Samuel Blackwood died. That's from the book. That's a guy who is known to have died in this battle in the book.
But the Bracken's the one that had the sword in his neck.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of happens differently in the book. I can't say too much more without spoiling things.
The Bracken's the one that had the sword in his neck, but then at the council meeting, they're like, yeah, Blackwood died. And I was like, well, he's not the one that they showed dead, which was just weird. But I don't know.
Well, a lot of people died on both sides. It's kind of what Aegon says. Yeah. But yeah, I can't say too much more because they might have changed things.
I mean, you could have just showed both of them dead if they were actually dead, is what I'm saying. Like, it was
that makes sense.
That was confusing to me. All right, so then we jump to the Eric's funeral.
Yep.
And Rhaenys and Rhaenyra talk a lot about trying not to actually have a war. Like, can we find a way to find peace?
Yeah, in hindsight, that's definitely the big theme for Rhaenyra, especially this one is like, how can we stop this? In this scene, kind of what's happening, it seems like is Rhaenys is saying, this definitely wasn't Otto's idea. The kids are in charge. Like, Aegon and Aemond are in charge now, which means like...
Just look at the decisions being made. Like, this isn't... Like, cool heads are not at the helm anymore.
Yeah, she's like, you need to talk to Alicent if you can, because I'm pretty sure there was like last time I talked to Alicent, she didn't really want war either. So maybe you two can talk this out. And she's like, I have a letter from her that I just haven't opened, left her unread.
Yeah.
Well, not read, I guess.
Yeah, it was undelivered. Left her undelivered.
Undelivered, not read. Yeah.
Which it would have been cool to see what actually she said in the message too. Once we do open it up.
Yeah, it sucks we didn't hear.
I'm sure it was more like, "I'm sorry for your loss." Like,
I also wonder like how old it was.
Let's not do this thing.
Was it like was it after Luke before Jaehaerys? And it says like, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss," and then Alicent, she's like, "Hey, I'm here to take you up on your offer." And it's like, "What do you mean you killed my grandson since then?" Like, get the fuck out of here.
Shit's changed. She definitely said in that first council meeting of episode 1, like, did Alicent, any word from Alicent? Like, I wrote her, did she write back to me?
Is that when they said yes?
Do you not?
In the first one of this season, all she says is, I want Aemond. So I guess you're...
No, Alicent. The Green's first council. Alicent was like, I sent word. And you remember the guy was like, you said sorry about killing your son? Like, that's what your message was?
I don't remember that, but okay. That makes sense. Gotcha. Cool.
All right. That's really all that is.
Yeah, I think that's all that's there in the funeral scene.
And then we get the Lord Hand Commander. What was his new title? Lord Commander Hand?
I don't know.
Hand Commander?
They called him different things at different times.
Like, well, whatever way they ordered it, like, it's like the Lord Hand or something like that. The Lord Hand Commander, I think. I don't know. It was like a cool necklace.
Book accurate.
Like, that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, there we go. Finally got book accurate hand necklace.
Yeah. I guess it's because you can't pin that stupid brooch on his armor.
It's a good excuse for probably Ryan Condal, who's a book fan, to bring in the necklace, right? Because, again, that's kind of... You can say it's kind of important.
Tyrion uses it.
Exactly, to kill Shay.
Which is better than, like, just... What did he use there? Just a
just
chain?
Whatever necklace he was wearing, I think. Yeah, normal necklace. Okay. Which isn't too much different, but it's kind of more symbolic because the whole Hands of Gold are always cold song. But then again, it's a book only thing. Yeah, we're almost there. That's like 2 episodes from now in the normal book. It's right after the Sam John chapters we have.
Yeah. So new Kingsguard men, and they're like obviously on. So these were the kids that were sitting around Aegon in the throne room, right?
Yeah, I think so. Again, I don't think this is in the books. I might be forgetting something, but I don't think this whole like Aegon replacing Kingsguard with like his buddies is a thing. But
I mean, we talked about it being stupid to not have replaced them, but it seems like he just replaced them with his buddies instead of guys that actually give a fuck. Because like the ones sitting down, the ones like leaned up against, like they're not standing their post.
I kind of love Aegon, but I also kind of hate him. And I guess I'll wait to get to this point till later, because me and you kind of had this argument before about Jon Snow of like why I kind of don't like Jon Snow in the later books, like once he becomes in charge. And it's like he becomes boring once he becomes in charge. And I'm like, you don't have to be boring once you're in charge. And you've hit me with that, yeah, you kind of do, or you lose respect. And I'm like, no, you don't really. You don't have to. Aegon is kind of proof that you kind of have to be a little more boring. You can't do what you used to do.
Yeah, they don't respect him at all. Like
100%.
Like
we're jumping ahead, so we can get to it. But
yeah, and we're about to get there. Or I guess we're not really about to get there. But yeah, so it was just I didn't know if at first the Kingsguard were mad at Aegon for sending Eric. Like, man, you got one of our brothers killed. Like, fuck you. Like, I'm not like whatever. I'm not gonna like salute you as you walk by or whatever. But then I realized that they were Aegon's friends later, and they just don't know. They just don't know. Like, they think it's kind of like cool, I'm a Kingsguardman, but like I'm not like that oath doesn't matter to me. Like I'm still going to the whorehouse too, and you know, let's drink and have a good time.
Yeah. And at first I thought like I was like, how are there this many replacements? Because like only Eric died. But we talked about this last episode actually, like, well, the Kingsguard are split now, right? A few of them are with Rhaenyra, a few of them are with Aegon. So Aegon actually, Eric died, but like just because like a few of the other ones already went with Rhaenyra, he just had the spots to fill anyway. So that's probably where these extra ones are coming from. Yeah, then they get into the council, right?
Yeah, and then we not a whole lot being talked here, but
yep, Samwell Blackwood slain. That's, again, I'm guessing that's the kid who was talking. That's the name we have in the books. But really, both sides lost, and then they're talking about like, what's next?
Yep. What are the strategies that we can pull? And there was a couple different ones.
I have 3 that they kind of mentioned real quick. One is talk to Grover Tully. Did you catch that?
Yep, I did.
I think he's mentioned later with Daemon too.
He was mentioned a couple times.
Grover Tully. Do you know his son's name?
Aegon.
Elmo
Tully.
Grover and Elmo. Literally the two Tully.
I wasn't a big Sesame Street kid growing up, gotcha. So it wouldn't have struck me.
It's just like George is literally throwing references out there. I didn't know if they would throw these guys' names in, and again, they kind of work, right? You don't even notice it, but yeah.
Was Elmo mentioned?
I don't think yet.
Is he the heir of?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I think there's a third one too.
Soon. Sounds like Grover's on the way out.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, they want to talk to Grover Tully because they wanted a foothold of the Riverlands. Then they talk about, again, they got this name drop of Daeron, Alicent's other son.
He can't be that old. They wanted to fly his dragon, right?
I'm thinking he's probably like Baela, Jace range, where he has a dragon, but it's like not quite. And remember what I was telling you about, like how we had this argument before about like, oh, Baela's surveying King's Landing. What if Vhagar comes after her? Like, you could kind of see it. I thought Baela's dragon Moonlands were like kind of badass in this episode. Like, and again, I'm jumping ahead, but like very nimble. Where like straight down,
can you just,
pull up.
Just stay on track. Just stay on track.
I don't even know how I got there.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, it's like driving a Porsche versus a Mack truck.
Yeah, and I think that's so.
But you wouldn't want the Mack truck to hit the Porsche.
Exactly, you wouldn't want to go 1v1 against them. So Alicent's other son, that's kind of what they're saying. Is like he's over there, he has his dragon. It's like kind of on the edge of being able to fight. And there's an army at Old Town that he could kind of take charge of. And then the Lannisters are talking about, oh, we have some armies, some men too.
Yeah, they'll come in from the west to help the Brackens more. Right? It was Thailand's idea.
Yeah, and then the Maester suggests like they can all form up together, all 3 of those groups, and Tyland's like, you're an idiot, you don't know anything about war. Yeah, again, I didn't quite get the point of that, but
yeah, I mean, I guess when you have them surrounded, you might as well bring them from all sides. Like they have the west, they have kind of like the southwest, right, with Hightower.
Yeah,
and then they have King's Landing, so they can kind of close in on the Riverlands, which is probably go all meet up at some place. Wouldn't I mean you'd have a big host, but then like people could move around you.
Yeah, you'd hope a lot of them are.
I think Thailand, just in a Lannister way, is like trying to like, I'm way smarter than you. Yeah,
you'd hope that they'd have at least some support in the Riverlands too. Like it's probably not all one-sided. That there's a lot of houses in the Riverlands.
Yeah, it sounds 50-50 for the most part. But then Kriston comes in. Is it Kriston? How do you say it? Kriston or Kristen?
Kristen.
I didn't want to say. I want to say Kristen. Kristen comes in with I'm going to be the man strat, which. Like, does he really just want to be, like, his strategy's, like, I don't really, what's he going to do? He's riding house to house, and he's either going to fight them or they're going to join him.
Exactly. It's kind of what he talked about with
Aemon
before. And
yeah, when they were sharing a drink.
So, real quick, I know I've been jumping around a lot. I want to jump around real quick to the very end. When basically Alicent and Rhaenyra have that realization, and we'll get to that part later. But when they do, Alicent kind of hits her with the, it's too late. Do you know? And one of the things she says is, "Do you know where Aemond is right now?" Did you catch Alicent saying that?
Well, she didn't say.
She didn't say where, but she said, "Like, do you know where Aemond is?"
I'm sure he's going to Harrenhal.
To me, that just means he's not at King's Landing. He's going somewhere with Vhagar. Right?
Yeah.
I don't even honestly know where he is because they could.
Well, Vhagar is supposed to stay.
Exactly.
So like Kristen's like, I'm gonna do this thing, and then he goes to Aemon, right? And he's like, Aemon, like, I don't need you, basically. Like,
but there was some weird eyes between them. Again, I don't. This is speculation by me because I don't know what happens. I know what happens in the book, which is maybe a little bit of a hint. But in the first episode, right, when Aemon and Kristen are in that room. Right, and they're plotting with the coins on the table. Basically, what they're saying is, "Hey, we'll go house to house to all these small houses, Rosby, Stokeworth, houses like that. And basically, I'll show up with a small army. You'll be there with Vhagar, and we'll say, hey, you join us, or we'll burn you. And then they'll obviously join us, and we'll go on to the next one. And that way, we'll gather an army with all the small houses near us. And then once we have enough, we'll use that to go to Harrenhal. We'll be at
Harrenhal, but it doesn't. All right.
So in the council chamber,
I'm not going to jump.
In the council chamber, if you rewatch it. I think you're right that Aemon and Kristen are saying, no, Vhagar has to stay here and protect the city.
But
I think
wink,
they're
wink,
giving each
wink,
other
wink,
eyes
nod,
that
nod.
is like, yeah, we know. And then Aegon is even like, okay, Vhagar will stay, but I'll come with you. And then they like kind of show Kristen and Aemon again, and they're like, no, because we know that it's actually going to be Vhagar. Like, yeah, I think they have kind of like a secret plan behind the scenes. And even if that's not true, kind of with what Alicent said at the end, I think Aemon is off to fuck shit up because of kind of the humiliation that we'll get to in a few scenes.
Yeah. Aegon, obviously, like, I don't think he's been bad. Like, there's obviously moments where, like, he's just, like, not being very kingly. But, like, he's trying. Like, it's not like he's, like, Joffrey, where, like, Joffrey would just, like, let's just go. Like, Joffrey would have already sent the dragons out. Like, the realm would be burning.
He's not cruel. He's kind of just dumb. He means well, but he's dumb, and he's getting manipulated by everybody.
I know what he's supposed to be. I just feel like from what we've seen from season 1 till now, the only thing that he's actually like done where it was like, what the fuck, Aegon, was he was a teenager that like was just not doing shit, right? Like he was just kind of like, fuck it, like I'm the prince, like I can just kind of run around and drink. And then he hid when it was actually his turn to be king.
He's definitely worse in the books.
Like, he doesn't look stupid, right? Yeah, like,
Again, everyone's worse in the books, but
I just don't feel like they've showcased this Aegon to be, like, completely incompetent, that, like, he can't do anything or, like, make any decisions, right? Which is, like, everyone really seems to be afraid or, like, contradict anything that he says, like, they're going with the opposite plan.
Well, I mean, like I said, if it's true that Aemon is going out to help Kristen, that's what Aegon said in this council. He's like, okay, sure, Kristen, you can go out. Let's send Aemon with you to help. They said no because they knew Alicent and the other people wouldn't like that. But really, they were going to do that anyway. So like, he's kind of on the same page as them.
But think wider to like every decision he makes. Like they're really kind of like, no, you can't do that. Like he's getting fitted soon for his armor to go ride, and like they're like, no, dude, like you can't do that because like. They actually want you out so that they can start making decisions without you. Like, they never even really gave him a chance to just be king.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that one.
Right?
But I don't think
Otto and Alicent are scheming against. Well, I guess, again, they know him better than I do, because I've only seen him for 6 episodes, right? Or 5, whatever it is total, where I just don't feel like they've shown him being, like, a complete stupid person that like couldn't be trusted to like step into this role. Like he's just a figurehead, but he doesn't want to just be a figurehead. Like he is obviously taking the disrespect to heart. Like he wants to be feared and like kind of known. Like I could be a dragon rider warrior, just like Aemon, just like Daemon. Like you should fear me as he says it. He says I'm just as fearful as them, which nobody believes it, right? So I'm ready for him to make a hasty decision that's gonna be. Bad. Like, and it's gonna fail. Like, and then he's gonna be like, "Fuck, I am actually worthless."
Again, I like him because I think he shows why you can't be what I want leaders to be.
Yeah.
Fuck, there's another thing I was gonna say there. But yeah, whatever. We can move on.
All right. So White Worm and Rhaenyra now talking, looking out over the sea, and this was, I think, what I predicted. I was like, she was joining up the ranks. Like she was not bailing. I knew she was gonna be. Kind of the master of whispers for Rhaenyra now. I kind of like the little Larys versus Malaria. Is that her name?
Mysaria.
Mysaria, little master of whisper.
Did you say malaria? Off. Like the disease that kills everybody, like the mosquito disease, malaria.
I don't think I pronounced it quite like
I don't remember
that. Malaria.
Mysaria.
It's not far.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So she's staying.
She reminds me of Varys. I feel like she's our Varys and Larry's is our little finger.
I don't like the tempo in the way she talks. It's very.
Some people don't like her accent. I don't mind it.
I don't mind her accent. It's more so her tempo. Like
that's part of the accent.
Like though. She's talking in like a poem almost.
Yeah, I mean it's like again, I feel like her stressed and yeah, you're right. Like it's almost like the stressed and unstressed syllables are wrong. It's like not normal speech. Like
it's just weird. And I don't know the actress.
I don't mind it. I know a lot of people don't like her like the way she talks, but I don't mind it. I think it is kind of like
it seems a little forced. Like it's not her natural talk. It's like I need to talk like this to seem more mysterious type of thing.
I think exactly, and I feel like for a lot of people it doesn't hit. For me, I don't know, maybe because I'm lowbrow and simple. I'm like, oh yeah, she is mysterious because she talks weird. But then, like a lot of people like the Craig and Stark's accent, and to me, like I said, it felt like Sophie Turner and Maisie Williams pretending to be Sean Bean. So
he was an average.
To each their own, I guess. Yeah, I actually like this scene where she, again, like I said, she reminds me of Varys, where Larry's is kind of our little finger, where Larry seems kind of like not really on a side. He's not quite Littlefinger in that I don't really think he wants power, but I don't think he like I don't know where his loyalties lie. Where Mysaria, she was like, yeah, I'm out. And then she's kind of like a mix between Varys and Missandei.
I get what you're saying because Rhaenyra set her free and she'd rather be with her than actually like go be free type of thing.
Exactly. Like, the fact that you set me free proves to me that like you're worthy is kind of what Mysaria is saying here. And with then the Varys part of it is she's like, there are people in she's like, King's Landing. She's like, yeah, there are small folk in King's Landing. And he's like, I wrote my notes actually like she can get the small folk on your side, but really she was like, I think you'd be better at serving the small folk than Aegon would, which is like the reason I'm picking you is because I think you would honestly be better for the small folk in the long run, which I think is noble, right? Yeah. So which is kind of like what you think Varys is kind of at least in the show. In the books,
sure,
still up for debate, but
sure. Yeah, no, but then the other, you mentioned this before, Sea Smoke has just been restless out, like he's just flying around screeching. I don't understand why they leave a dragon that's been ridden unclaimed.
So this is actually very interesting, especially for me as a book person, because I think I said this in the first show. In the books, Laenor's most likely dead. Like it doesn't really happen like it does in the show.
The burned body is actually his body.
I think he just like gets stabbed, and it's pretty sure that Daemon paid somebody to stab him because he wanted to marry Rhaenyra. It's kind of like pretty much closed case. Again, it's written from a third party, so anything's possible. But Laenor's dead, so at this point, like he's not unclaimed, right? Like his rider's dead because in the
so you're saying because Laenor is running around Essos that Sea Smoke wouldn't take another rider because
he should be missing Laenor. Like we don't know how really that works, but like what we know is a dragon's never had two riders at once, and Laenor's still alive, so like he should just be missing Laenor. And they kind of say he's lonely. So I think that's like a decent take on what this is, because there are dragons around, right? Like old Jaehaerys' dragon.
Who's that? Vermithor
and Silverwing was at his Queen Alysanne, his wife's dragon. Those two are alive and unclaimed, and their owner and their riders are dead, right? So like theoretically, those could be reclaimed from what we know from like
I mean, Vhagar was reclaimed, right? Like we've seen it. Exactly. We've seen it been done, and you have
Sea Smoke's a weird case, though.
People, right? Sure, like fine. If we're gonna say that Laenor's not dead in the show, and they can't kind of claim him for that reason, that makes sense. But I don't understand why Rhaena doesn't have a dragon. Like I get it, she got an egg. The egg didn't hatch, right?
Yes,
that's the whole key. Give her another egg.
I mean, she should. I think she's in the book. She still has that egg. I think. But I mean, in the show, it seems like, and I don't know if we might not be quite there. Let's keep going because we're to a Rhaena scene. But when they do send her off, they send her with 4 dragon eggs.
Right. So, just quickly tell me the history of, like, all right, a Targaryen's born, they have a dragon egg.
Put a dragon egg in the
and if it hatches, great. They ride said dragon when it's big enough. If it doesn't hatch, you're fucked.
We don't hear too much about that. Like and maybe I'm forgetting, but like I don't know what happened with Aemond. Right? Like,
Aemond just took matters into his own hands and climbed Vhagar.
But I'm saying they probably put a dragon egg in his cradle that just didn't hatch. And exactly, like he was getting made fun of for not having a dragon. That's why he had the pig
and things like that. Yeah.
So some Targaryens claim a dragon, but yeah, it seems like a lot of them, especially at this time, have them hatch.
They were pretty good at hatching them. All right, so yeah, Rhaena and Rhaenyra. Rhaena is getting sent to take Joffrey to the Vale, and then she's going to continue on to Pentos with the two little ones and their little dragons, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's a babysitter. She has to babysit Aegon and Viserys.
Yeah, which she's not happy about. Rightfully so. I mean, these people want to be in the action, right? Like, I'm taking the Dragon Riders as much of a warrior. Maybe she's not as trained because she doesn't actually have... Like, she's not out shooting the crossbow because she knows, or they know, that they're never going to, like, send her out there on foot, right? Like, you need to have the dragon, but she obviously wants to have a dragon and wishes she could be out there, but she can't be, so you have to go babysit.
I will say I like what they're doing with Baela and Rhaena both. They're pretty much very minor characters that don't get very many mentions at all in the books. I think they're also a little bit younger at this point in the books, which makes sense why like they don't really matter as much. But yeah, like I think exactly like, and like you said, I think it depends on the personality. Like I think Rhaena is like Baela, and she's a fighter. She's kind of more of an Arya, Rhaenyra type than she is a Sansa type. I think if she was a Sansa type and she didn't have her dragon hatching, and she was being sent off to babysit, she might be okay with it. You know what I mean? Like if this was Sansa, she'd be like, okay, you know what, cool. This is actually better for me. I'll go chill in Pentos in the palace with my two nephews or whatever they are. Yeah, nephew half brothers, I guess, or at least half brothers. Dude, that's, I don't even know.
The tree of them all is now so like Danielle's asking me like, wait, why do these two kids have white hair? Well, I'm like, well, they're Daemons. And I'm like, well, what? But who were the brown hair kids? And I'm like, well, that was Harwin. Well, you know, Harwin / exactly. You know, it's like I'm trying to explain it in a way, and it's just not working. Yeah. So then we get Daemon at Harrenhal.
Yes.
Caraxes is so cool.
Caraxes is cool. What do you think of Harrenhal? First time we really got Harrenhal on screen. What were your thoughts?
Fine. Like,
it's the fucking. Why is it so dark? Just make it be light out. I get they want it to be spooky and stuff, but you know the fans want to see Harrenhal. Yeah. I couldn't see shit. I couldn't really see anything. It looked a little small.
I want to see it fly. Like it. Yeah, it didn't look very tall. Like you could tell that it was kind of burned down, right? Like it was dilapidated.
And like we know a lot of them are melted, but it looked like there was literally only 2 towers left.
Yeah.
And again, it's a cool shot when Caraxes lands on it and looks over the castle. But again, it looked a little small to me, and it looked like too destroyed. And again, maybe I'm...
Right, like there's no ceiling. Like the Great Hall. So I thought Daemon was walking into like the Hall of 100 Hearths.
Exactly,
right?
He was, for sure.
And there's no roof.
And that's where they held the Great Council. They just held the Great Council in a room with no roof.
With you know,
wide it's like
open.
When we have graduation outside, and then it's like, what? Oh, if it's inside, we're all going to be crammed into this other room.
Yeah.
And like even he was probably given some very high-ranking room. Right, he's Daemon.
Yeah,
maybe not the King's chamber or the Lord chamber because there seems to be some type of Lord there. But like, in that room has how many holes in it? Like, I don't know. It's a little unbelievable that like this has been 130 years now since.
And they didn't patch a hole. They couldn't patch a hole or two.
At least in some of the rooms, I don't know. And again, like we see Arya here in 170 years, and it's beat up for sure. Like some of the towers are completely destroyed still, but like it seems like most of it is like habitable.
Right.
This is not. There's really
like nobody even there. Like, where are the people?
Yeah. Again, maybe this is one of those impossible feats, but I, as a huge book fan, was a little let down by Harrenhal. And again, we could get a shot in the daylight that completely changes my mind. Yeah. But so far, a little let down. And I get they want it to be spooky and gloomy, but
I think the fans deserve to see. They want to see this thing, right? Clear as day, where you can like pause and like, wow, like let me take in this castle real quick, and you haven't gotten that. But I think Storm's End was very disappointing. Like I think Storm's End was way more disappointing than this dark scene of, because at least like the walk up to the you know the Hall of 100 Hearths or whatever
was pretty badass. Yeah,
it was pretty badass. And then like, oh shit, there's no fucking ceiling here. Like that, it was cool. Like it looked cool. But like the overall castle, obviously you didn't.
I mean, if it was Harry Potter and we can make sure the rain doesn't come through, it would be cool, right? Like, doesn't their Great Hall that doesn't have a ceiling either? You can see the stars there. Well, okay, cool, but it's impractical in this time frame, in this time period. Like,
yeah.
Also, but there's like, and I get it, like the set dressing, you want it to be a ruined castle, but it's 100 years later. Like, there's literally like rubble, like pebbles and rocks and stones from the. Like, someone would have swept that up by now. It's been 130 years. Exactly.
I don't understand why there's nobody there. Daemon is clearing the corners like he's got a...
Like, there were people there when he was riding Caraxes over. There were soldiers running.
Yeah.
And I get it's lightly garrisoned. It's probably kind of like it is in A Song of Ice and Fire Times, where it's a huge castle that has, like, only 200 people. So it makes it seem like those 200 people are really spread out. But the problem is it didn't seem that huge from what I could barely see on the black screen. And like there were people running around when he was flying over, and then he lands and it's just him. It gave me vibes of Arya when like it's the middle of that battle, season 3, season 8, episode 3, the battle that Winterfell. Crazy battle going on outside.
And she's running the hallways with nobody.
No, it cuts to Arya in a super quiet library. Like we don't hear any booms from outside, even though there's dragons. It's like, what are you talking about? And he doesn't, I don't know. It felt weird to me. I didn't like it. I really wanted Harrenhal to be awesome. I will say, and this is maybe a spoiler for both of us, but I heard that they cast Lady Arryn, who they sent Joffrey off to defend.
Yeah.
That tells me we're going to see the Eyrie. So
yeah.
That's my last hope. You know, that's one of my favorite castles. Storm's End ruined. Harrenhal so far not great.
Didn't we see the Eyrie in the original?
We only had one outside shot of it in the past, and even one of our Discord fans commented during the episode, Harrenhal got retconned. So I don't know if that's true. We never had like a real establishing. We actually did. I think we did have an outside shot of Harrenhal in Game of Thrones when Arya's just getting there, and I feel like it was way better than this.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember. But let's move on. All right, so he breaks in. No one's there except one guardman who wasn't even ready for anything. Boom, boom, punch, punch. And I'm at this dinner table with a new set of the Strong family. An uncle.
Simon. An uncle of Lionel, who was Harwin's dad. Larry's his dad. So Larry's his great uncle. Yep. He's in charge.
And everyone else kind of is afraid. He comes down, bends the knee right away, and they start to have dinner. Daemon's suspicious that they're going to try to poison him. And this dude's like, look, we don't accept Larys as a Strong. Like, it's super weird. Like, you can see it's really rainy here. We have no roofs. Like, you can't burn to death here. It's impossible. Like, how did these guys die?
Yeah, Larry's definitely had something to do with it. And Daemon's like, okay, cool. Well, we're going to gather our army here. I want to talk to Grover Tully. They're like, he's in rough shape.
Yeah. Right? You're not going to get much out of him, and people don't respect him anymore. Yep. And he's like, well, fuck it. I'm going to go talk to him anyway. Next
scene, we're back in King's Landing. Christian Cole, Alicent, and Gawain Hightower. So Christian's about to ride
Gawain.
out.
What a name. Gawain,
yeah. Kind of a nerd name. And this guy's kind of a tool.
Super
I hate
weird.
Him. I was hoping for a second that he was going to be like an honorable knight to put Christian in his place.
Yeah.
But no, he's a tool. Christian. It makes me kind of like Christian for a second again.
He was kind of giving me the vibes of the Knight of the Vale that gets. He was a squire that gets knighted right away and then dies in the tourney. Like, let me I walk around big knight, but I'm actually I'm green and not ready to go.
I think his name's Hugh. Sir Hugh of the Vale.
Yeah.
That actor in the show is the same actor that plays Tyland and Tyland's twin brother. He plays 3 characters.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
He's in House of the Dragon. But yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a dick. They ride out. He asks for her favor. Again, I was writing notes. Did he sniff it or something weird? What was the point of that?
She pulled it right out of her bosom.
And was that a thing in Middle Ages? Is that women? If I went up to a chick at a bar and was like, "Can I have your favor?" Would she have a handkerchief in her bra to pull out for me? Is that a thing that chicks do? Do they do that? They just always have that?
Yeah. It's like you giving your Letterman jacket to your girlfriend.
In the tournament when he asked for her favor, she slides her little wreath thing down on his lance.
Yep.
So I thought asking for a favor was more of a tournament thing, or maybe a wedding thing, when it was like maybe bridesmaids wore that thing around their
No,
thigh?
I think it's a garland.
Yeah.
Or,
maybe that was their favor.
I don't
know where I got that from.
No,
whatever it's called, the thing that you have to bite off the
a garter.
Nobody does
garter.
it anymore.
It's a garter.
Nobody does it anymore. No one's any fun.
I've been to a couple weddings that do it, but I think it's just more so like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. Like, you're praying for me. Like, it's basically like pray for me type of thing. Like, or can I fight in your honor type of thing. So what did Alicent have to give him? Like, she's like, all right, fine, like take this hanky.
Because she was giving him kind of the cold shoulder there. Because clearly she did not want them to go to war. She was kind of playing more cautious, and he was playing a little more hot-headed. And he was like, I got my way. She's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. And he's like, come on.
And that's why I kind of feel like Criston is clout chasing, not really. Like, he wants to make a name for himself. He doesn't really give a shit. Like, I don't know if he really cares, other than like him becoming like Criston, the best Kingsguardman ever. Like, I'm gonna do all this shit. I came from nothing. I'm gonna be the man. That's the vibe I'm getting from Criston.
I almost get the vibe of like, especially after the other episode where the one where Alicent got in the bath alone. Yeah. When she's like, what do you want? Absolution. And he's like, there's nothing to absolve me for my crimes. I feel like he just like, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna do maybe even I want to do the best I can.
Again, I think he's trying to create his name. You're not going to convince me otherwise. Like, that's like, I need to be the one to send Eric. I need to do this. I need to go ride out. Like, he doesn't need to be on this ride out mission.
And like I said, like, he gets mentioned a couple times. We haven't really got there yet, but in the normal Game of Thrones series, he gets mentioned by characters as Criston Cole, the Kingmaker.
Yeah.
Seeming as he had a way more, like, thus far, he hasn't had that much of an active role in making Aegon or keeping Aegon king. So like that would make sense if that's kind of like what he does, but
yeah.
Yep, so they ride out. Next we're back to Dragonstone, Black Council. Basically like, do we send dragons or no? The guy who's talking a lot, I don't know who he is.
I was going to say,
like a sigil on his chest, but it's hard to tell what it is. It's like a dragon.
It was like it looked like a dragon.
Yeah, a dragon, but not really.
His sigil looked like a dragon. I was like, who is this guy? I was hoping you would know. But he's like, we've got, basically we have the atom bomb. It's kind of Oppenheimer, right? Like, these dragons are atom bombs. Like, having them is the fear that you can't step out of line or we're going to drop it on you. And this dude actually wants to drop it so that, they see the fear, like it's actually a live thing. But
yeah, I mean, George had said that before, that like dragons are supposed to be like an analogy. I don't know if George just said it, but like people are pretty sure that the dragons are supposed to be an analogy for nuclear weapons, where it's like, yeah, I can fuck you up, but you can fuck me up. Like, what's that? What do they call that nowadays? Like mutually
arms race,
assured destruction or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they even like kind of meant, like, me and you went to see Oppenheimer on like the big screen, right? I think that's even something they mentioned there, where it's like, yeah, it was horrible when we first made it and used it, but now because we have it, it like kind of stops a lot of violence, because there's always this threat of like, you go too far and we just kill each other.
Yep.
Right. So kind of scary, but also like kind of good.
Yeah. It's basically, we're living in it, and that's what they have with these dragons.
Exactly. Yep.
And then it's basically like, hey, we want you to go hide too. Like, you're in danger. We can't afford losing you, Rhaenyra. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I need to be here to rule.
So I think that was, they want to use dragons, and she is pussyfooting around. Like, she's just not making a decision. It's not like she isn't saying, no, we're not using dragons. She just keeps saying like, oh, I'll think about it.
I'm not ready yet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I'll take your counsel and I'll go think on it myself. But she hasn't really made any decisions yet at all. And I think it's a little bit of Daemon not being there and her not really maybe being able to trust anybody. It seems like she wants to really talk to Rhaenys a lot, but they're just talking again, and a lot of times she's listening, and she hasn't made a move yet.
Again, that scene with her and Daemon last episode, I thought she completely won that, and she basically called Daemon out for all his bullshit. But the one thing he said was like, you don't have the balls to do what you need to do sometimes, and I think he's kind of right about that. Again, this is something that's definitely different in the book. Like, Rhaenyra and Alicent are not friends in the book. Like, they definitely kind of.
Yeah, they're playing that up.
They hate each other. They're and I like it. I kind of like, because I was also wondering, like, what are they going to do with this Aegon's prophecy? Like, it doesn't matter, because clearly by the time the normal book series starts, the prophecy is lost, right? So like, some of the huge mega fans think it's kind of an interesting like thought experiment to be like, oh, when was it lost along the line? Was it when Baelor the Blessed was burning a lot of books? Was it when the Blackfire Rebellion happened? Was it during the Dance of the Dragons? But like, it doesn't really matter. The point is, it's lost by the start of the series, so who cares, right? So my whole point was like, okay, they introduced it in season 1. How are they going to pay it off? And I don't know if this is the payoff, but this is definitely an interesting way to bring it back, right? And again, I'm jumping way ahead, but like what they do with
I don't know why you're jumping ahead. You don't need to.
Because we're talking about the Alicent or Rhaenyra.
We're not talking about Alicent. We're just talking about Rhaenyra not really doing anything yet.
In the council chamber. Yeah, go ahead.
But I understand her hesitancy because once you, like, there's a bottle of champagne. Like, once you uncork it, it's out, right? You got to drink the bottle. So once they decide to, not just survey from above and start, like, actually fighting, like, we're at war. So.
Yep, and that's kind of the other scene later where Rhaenys is like, hey, you can say the war hasn't started, but like we said earlier, here's a whole list of different times when different people could say it started. This shit's on. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube, champagne back in the bottle, like you said.
Yeah. All right, so next is Corlys and Rhaenys talking about who's going to be the heir of Driftmark. Sounds like Joffrey.
You didn't think this was interesting? I thought this was kind of interesting, right? It seemed like
it was interesting. It was interesting that Rhaenys didn't want Joffrey to be it. Like, Joffrey is just as much as what Lucerys was.
Well, no. They both know Joffrey is a bastard.
How is Joffrey? How
Jace, Luke, and Joffrey are all pretty much
the Strong brothers.
Strongs, which means they're not Laenors.
Obviously, but they accepted Luke.
True, exactly. So they accepted.
That's why
Luke.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Agreed. It doesn't make sense. They accepted Luke. Don't accept Joffrey, even though they knew that both were kind of equally not their sons. Which is why it seems like Rhaenys is like, hey, I know you might not be hot on Joffrey. Why not Rhaena? And what's weird is Corlys doesn't seem hot on either of them. Yeah. It seems like Rhaenys is pushing for Rhaena. And why not Baela?
Because Baela is with Jace.
Exactly. Yep. Because I was wondering that too, and then I was like, "Wait, that makes sense." Okay, that's why.
Yeah, I remember that Rhaena was the one that was with Luke.
Husbandless and dragonless. Damn.
Yeah, at the age of what, 17, 16?
Yeah, she has time, but.
Yeah, I was like, I was unsure if they were like trying to say like, yo, we should have Rhaena now marry Joffrey just so at least like she could be kind of part of that thing. But yeah, again, like, who cares? I don't care. I don't care who's the Lord of the Tides.
Okay, gotcha. So, and again, that's probably because they don't exist. I mean, they exist, but they're not really important come Game of Thrones time.
And, like, Corlys is like, oh, they don't know anything about sailing. Like, Rhaena doesn't know how to sail. This guy doesn't know how to sail. So get him on a ship. Take him out there and teach him. And show him a thing or two.
Yeah, they're young. Exactly.
You know? But whatever. Who cares? I don't, like I said, till Corlys does something, I don't care.
Yeah. Next scene is Rhaena and Joffrey leaving with I think they have Tyraxes in a cage. That's Joffrey's.
Stormcloud?
I think Stormcloud is either Aegon or Viserys' dragon.
Which, those are the two young babies.
Daemon and Rhaenyra's babies. Those are the ones being sent to Pentos.
Yeah. And then for dragon eggs.
And for the dragon eggs, exactly.
This is our last hope. If we all die, you're here with 4, maybe 6 dragons in the future.
Were they Dany's dragon eggs? I didn't notice.
I didn't. There was 4 different colored ones, so Dany had 3. So where'd the other one go?
Yeah,
it'd be cool, but maybe they have to get the Essos somehow, right?
There's definitely a part in Fire and Blood when Dany's dragon eggs are alluded to, but I don't think it's this part. I think it's like 50 years later. But again, that means they could technically, I guess, tie it in.
She gets them in Pentos too, right? When she's at Illyrio's.
True.
Mance and Pentos, so.
True, but again, like, if they're trying, yeah, I mean, that's true. So they could just change it and make some of the things that happen later in Fire and the Blood happen here with Rhaena instead. But, like, one of the things I always wonder is they potentially might make another show of, like, what happens after this, right? Like, there's only about 50 years before the Blackfire Rebellions, which they're definitely going to make a show on if George ever writes Fire and Blood Part 2 or more Dunk and Egg stories, right? So, like, you would think, first off, that's going to be... I've wondered how do they do that with character ages, right? If you have actors just say they do Aegon's Conquest next, then they want to come back and do like what happens after this. Your characters will have aged too much. I mean, or maybe it'll make sense, but I don't know. We're getting way off track. Let's keep going.
You're getting way off topic. I'm locked in. So yeah, they send her off.
Alicent and
Helena. She's like no longer wants to grieve. She's weird.
Helena is weird. It's funny because in the books, like, this ends her. It pretty much says like it pretty much says like after Blood and Cheese, don't worry about Helena. This is the end of her story. She's fucked up.
Yeah. Which this one's like, actually, I don't care anymore. Like,
Moving on.
He's better to be dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Babies die all the time. Why not mine?
I haven't had like a close loved one die. I feel like that could like really fuck me up. And Helena is just like, it is what it is. He's probably better off. Which is
she's weird.
A weird take. But I mean, if it gets you through it,
it's weird how she went from like super sad and like obviously like I don't know, the processional was weird. Like I'm not holding that against her.
Why like that? She mentions that here. She felt bad because she felt like everyone was coming at her because she had more of a right. Well, I think what she says is she had more of a right to grief than they did.
Yeah.
She's like, why do I have more of a right to grief than they do? They're lowborn. I have maesters to tend to my birthing. Like they're just giving birth in a fucking dirty shack with pigs in the same room, in a bathtub with pigs in the same room. Like. Their children die more than me, and now we're gonna parade my dead child in front of them when I have all the privilege. It's kind of what she was seeming to me, which is damn, she sees it from their point of view, and that's kind of why she was freaking out in the crowd. Is kind of she was sympathizing, kind of with everybody except for herself. Is how I saw it.
She was afraid of those people touching her.
She said
was not sympathizing in the scene. She was afraid to be touched. She was not thinking about their struggles at that time. She might have went back and reflected on it later, but when she's like hiding from the people, she's not like, oh my god, how poor are you? Like, that's so sad, you're poor.
You're probably right, because I've actually heard that someone say that in the trailer there's a scene of Alicent and Helena with their like veils on running through the streets. There's like a cut of that. So people think that like was a second cut of like after what happened last episode, because like why else would they have their veils on again? Stuck. Yeah. But they just like cut that out, probably to make this scene make more sense for what you're saying. Because like, obviously, if it's an angry mob,
it looked like she didn't give a fuck about those people in the procession. But and then she forgives Alicent, which
it's tough.
Whatever.
It's a good scene. I think it's a good scene. I mean, Alicent. The thing is, like, who cares? But Alicent is breaking. I think it's kind of what that's showing.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously weighing on Alicent's mind. Like when you do something that's like, if she blamed herself. The only reason I think she does forgive her is because she's weirdly saying that she doesn't care anymore. Like, obviously, if she was still upset, she wouldn't forgive her.
This kind of relates to one of the things that I was thinking about when I rewatched episode 2. The scene at the end when Alicent basically says to Otto, hey, I've sinned. And he's like, I don't want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then she walks in on Aegon. He's crying.
Yep.
And she's basically like, I don't want to hear about it. And she leaves and goes, fuck's
I don't... Hole.
That's how I see that scene now.
I didn't take
her
that
being
scene.
the same as Otto. That's how I take that now on a rewatch. Is she's basically she's pissed that Otto didn't want to hear her shit, and she goes to Aegon and she doesn't want to deal with his shit either, and she just fucks off. So to me, is she doesn't realize that she's being a hypocrite.
It's not how I took it.
I mean, that's fine.
I didn't take her walking in on Aegon and him crying, being like, oh fuck, I don't want to deal with this. It's like, oh fuck, all right, let me give him some space. But then she ended up, going and getting diddled.
Yeah, it doesn't look
which like, okay, like now do you really even give a fuck? But I didn't think at that point she was like, oh my god, I'm not dealing with this fucking crying kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Aegon's getting fitted.
Yep, next scene in this episode, Aegon's getting fitted for his armor. Do you hear what they said there? Full Valyrian steel armor.
Yeah. Sweet.
It's worth more than like a city or something like that mentioned.
I'm sure. And it was Aegon the Conqueror, which is sweet.
That is so cool. I like that. Just like in that line is so much lore, right? That it like the only reason this is important, why? And again, spoiler if you plan on reading the books, skip ahead 10 seconds. In the Winds of Winter chapter, I'm pretty sure Euron shows up with Valyrian steel armor that he says he got from Old Valyria when he took his ship there. Like he is legit wearing it. Like no dispute, he has a suit of Valyrian steel armor, and it's badass. Cool. So I don't know. That's why I was getting fired up when they said that. I was getting. This was probably the most hype. This scene was the most hype. Also, I don't know why I really like Aegon. I think Aegon's my favorite character. Which is weird.
I don't. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like I don't. He's not just like he could very easily just be sitting on the throne drinking with his buddies, and that's all he's doing. Where he wants to get in the game. Like he's trying to get in the game.
Yeah,
nobody's
he's trying
letting
to do his
him.
Best. Yeah, and they're all.
He's like, "Hey, coach, I'm ready to check in. Like, I'm ready. Like, put me in the game. And they're like, nah, get to the end of the bench.
And they act like it's a big deal, but like thinking about it, it's not. As long as him and Aemon both don't die, they still have a ticket, right? Like because their ticket goes on, we have a son to rule. Because one of the things I don't know if we talked about it, but with Blood and Cheese, we definitely mentioned that in the books, there's an extra son. There's a younger son. Which makes it so that when Jaehaerys dies, Aegon still has an heir. In the show, he still does, but it's Aemon. So his heir is different because of the cut of this character. And after Aemon, there's no one.
I mean, there's Helaena.
But if you go Helaena, then you're admitting a woman can rule, which is pretty much giving it to Rhaenyra.
But I don't think that
to me, you can't go the woman route at all.
I don't think the claim was when they usurped the throne that we can't be Rhaenyra because she's a woman. They're saying it's Aegon because that's who Viserys chose.
That's fair. Okay, that's a fair argument, but again, I think it's tough to win.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it might not help them optically. Like, why would we go with this woman if we have this woman already? Who's But then again, like, why wouldn't you just go to back to Rhaenys, who's still alive and the oldest
the whole way back?
Yeah,
the closest to Jaehaerys. But so Larys basically shows up while they're suiting him up, and he's like, "What are we doing? You guys are fucking idiots. We can't go." And he lies to Aegon, and he says that the small folk have been. We don't know if it's a lie. Probably a lie. The small folk have been whispering and saying that the only reason he's going to fly out is because his small council, particularly Alicent, it seems like, has tricked him into wanting to fly out so that she can rule in his absence while he's gone. Yeah. He thinks this is true and is like, fuck it. I'm not leaving. Like, I'm staying here and I'm doing my shit.
Larys is trying to put some distrust into Aegon's ear, right? Like, he did it with Otto. Like, that's not your hand. That's Viserys' hand. Like, you need your own hand. And now, like, your mom's trying to really rule behind your back type of thing.
But it's like, is he doing good? Like, was dismissing Otto actually a good idea? Like I said, I clearly didn't like him, but in the last episode, like you kind of pointed out, a lot of his ideas were good ones. Parading the body through the streets, blaming everything on Rhaenyra. A lot of those were good ideas, even though I didn't like him morally. Like, he was getting shit done.
No, I thought Otto. Again, I'm kind of like Larys is trying to be like Littlefinger, like, let's create some chaos around these parts.
Yeah. It's kind of tough to tell what his motives are, which again, I feel like he's more like Littlefinger than he is like Varys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets named Master of Whispers, which is weird. I thought he kind of already was. In the books, he definitely already was. But again, whatever. Cool.
Yeah. And then this is where the new Kingsguard, he goes back to like talk to his pals. Like, actually, we're not going to ride out today. Like, stand down. Everybody stand down. What are you guys doing?
And they're like, yo, let's go fuck around with this squire. And he's like, we'll go to a brothel. It'll be great. And Aegon's like, you guys swore an oath of celibacy. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. Wink, wink. Yeah, sure, we did.
Yeah, they're like literally laughing. They're like, like, okay.
And at first I thought Aegon was going to, like, I like Aegon. And I thought I was going to be proud of my boy. Like, it looked like he was going to be like, yo, fucking straighten up.
I think he said that without saying it. Like, he tried to.
Yeah, but we see later that they're like they.
But then he's like he's lead fuckboy in them partying.
When they're out later, when they're out later,
like, which was like,
exactly.
It almost looked like he was like, no, I can't drink with you. Like, you're my players. I can't drink with players. And then he's like,
they were like, come on,
get around, everybody by. It's like,
exactly.
What the fuck?
But he didn't hold up very long. Folded the peer pressure.
It just shows these new Kingsguard guys are fuckboys too. Like, they're not.
Before they show him at the bar, though, they cut on this other guy, new character, actually not quite new.
Super weird. What do you mean?
He was in the last episode. He was one of the guys looking at all the hanged rat catchers.
Really?
I only know that because of the inside the episode thing. There was like a random actor talking.
Nobody's supposed to know that.
There was like a random actor commenting, and like under his name it said Ulf.
Ulf Targaryen.
So we got this guy. He is everybody knows this guy. He's like Mark the Badger. Like, literally everybody knows his name. It's like Cheers. Maybe should I cut that? I don't know.
No, Mark the Bagger's famous.
I said Badger. Mark the Bagger. Yeah, exactly.
Mark the Bagger. Anyone who listens to Howard Stern knows Mark the Bagger.
Mark the Bagger. Exactly. He's like, Mark the Bagger used to go to our local bar. So like, he would literally walk in and everyone knew his name. Like, I never watched Cheers, but I know that's part of their theme song, right?
Where everybody knows your name. Yeah.
Like, it's a place where there was a place, and I'm a fat ass, so I'll admit it, but there was like this burger joint. It's so good. Like, literally, I gotta take you to this place, Chef. It's called Jackson House in Harrisburg. The best burgers ever. They're only open for like 3 hours a day, and I think it's only on weekdays.
Interesting.
It's like literally lunch hours only, but literally the best burgers ever. But I would go there so often when I was an intern and working in Harrisburg that I would show up and they'd be like, the usual. And I'm like, yeah. There's a double cheeseburger with bacon.
I mean, that's the most basic bitch order. That's what I would get too. That's probably like actually called the usual on their menu just because most people get it.
It wasn't, but that's what I'm saying. It's like there's only been one place in my life that it's actually happened at a lot of Dunkin' Donuts, and for some reason I really don't like it when it happens at Dunkin' Donuts. When I like show up and they know what I want.
You get embarrassed when you get an iced coffee?
For some reason I really don't like it, and I start like just going to a different.
Oh, do you have my vanilla cream Froco Mocha latte?
Well, no, it's because they'll like know what I want when I walk in. We're getting so off track again, but like they'll know what I want when I walk in, and like maybe I'll be ordering hot coffee because it's in the middle of summertime, but all of a sudden it's hot out, and now I want an iced coffee, and I'll walk in and they'll have a hot coffee there already for me, and I'm too socially awkward to be like, actually I want an iced coffee today, so I'll just take the hot coffee and like sweat. And it just like happens over and over again.
You don't sweat drinking a hot coffee.
You know what I'm saying. It's anyway, moving on.
All right. So what's So
where even were we? How are we on the usual?
Ulf was going around. Now he sits down. And he's like, "Yo, you guys don't even know who I actually am," which is weird. Like, all of a sudden now he's gonna like name drop that he's
talking to a guy from Dorne, right? That's what they said.
One of the guys is from Dorne. He's like, "Oh, you're from Dorne." Then that's all we get.
Again, I was trying to write down family lineage here for Ulf because I don't know if it's in the books, if they mention that.
He said his grandsire Jaehaerys.
I got all this. Why was he at this table? Like, what was the conversation about? That's what I did not get.
Somebody called him over, and then I don't know why. Like, it sounds like he's kept this a secret for a while of him being a Targaryen bastard, and all of a sudden
I took it as something that he tells everybody, but he pretends it's a secret.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah, he said it pretty loud, right? Because then it gets really quiet when Aegon walks in. I thought when everyone got quiet, I thought they had heard what he said, and they were like, "What the fuck? Like, who do you think you are?" But then it was Aegon.
It was Aegon. So, but if we go down the lineage, did you have it? Jaehaerys' grandson, Balon the Brave,
he's
son.
Daemon's brother.
Daemon's brother, exactly.
And I guess Viserys' brother, but he's dead.
Half brother. It would be like the Jon Snow to Robb.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the claim.
Yeah, I mean, it means nothing to me. I don't like.
Do you believe this guy? I mean, he seems like he's the same guy. This guy seems like a little bit of a tall talker.
Yeah, I mean, there's no visual cues that he would be a Targaryen.
He's got gray hair, but he seems old, so it's like.
Yeah, it didn't even look gray. It looked like it was like aged gray, right? Like, and the guys make fun of him, like, yeah, you really look like Daemon. So if there's one thing we know, most of the time, I would say the Targaryen genes run pretty strong.
As in, it's easy to tell a Targaryen.
Yeah, and like that. But who am I to say that he's not? I have no idea, right? So
yeah, who knows?
Just trying to think of. He's definitely Team Rhaenyra and Daemon. So
that's true because he thinks Daemon's his brother, or at least he seems to think.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, at first you're like, is he tall talking or does he actually believe it? But then once he starts like kind of talking treason, considering he's in King's Landing, then you're like, damn, this guy might actually believe what he's saying here.
Yeah, and then he's face to face with Aegon. Like he could have ended the war right there. He could have just killed Aegon and been the hero, Ulf the hero.
And he's like to Aegon, he cheers us to him, and Aegon drinks with his boys. Aegon heads to the brothel, and this is where we see Aemon. He walks in. He's trying to find a whore.
Doing his full cuddle.
They just showed a blowjob, right? Hold on, did I miss that?
Yeah,
they just straight up just opened the curtain. There's a straight blowjob, like porn.
Straight penis.
In a mouth.
In current times, a hawk tua. We were.
It looked like a fake penis. If I'm like, I'm
sure it was a prosthetic.
But holy shit, they're just showing that shit on HBO.
It was wild. Danielle actually was like, it was like she was taken aback by it.
And then when Nudity jumping ahead a little bit to the next scene, Aemon, it's not.
Full.
I feel like it's very
penis.
rare that like
I
actors
think it's his,
like
I
that
think
just
it's
go
his
full
penis.
frontal. It's definitely his penis.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's not like they like he wasn't hanging at his kneecap, right? Like it wasn't like it was.
This might be like a misogynistic or sexist take, but like I feel like we've been seeing less boobs in movies lately, and all it takes to get boobs back in movies and shows is some more wieners, I'm totally fine with it. I played football. I shouted with dudes.
Yeah.
How long into my career? Like I'm totally fine with seeing a wiener, but I like seeing boobs. So like I don't like that's been happening less. So if it takes a few wieners to see a few boobs, I'm all for it.
You just saw someone getting head.
There was some boobs in that scene for sure.
And there was boobs in that scene. So like, yeah, like they always said like free the nipple, like free the wiener. Like if you want to.
No, I feel like girls used to complain that there was way more nudity for women in TV and movies than there was for men, and I 100% agree.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
And if that's a problem, I'm not afraid to see a few wieners, but just like
if the dude wants to walk
nudity all over the place. I'm cool with all kinds of nudity. Just put more nudity in.
If the dude wants to walk out with his wiener, like go ahead, bro. Do you.
Yeah.
You never watched Spartacus, did you? The HBO show?
No.
I think it was HBO. Maybe it was Stars actually.
I don't think so.
They show there's a decent amount of wiener in that.
I mean, Westworld has a lot of wieners in it.
I haven't seen that.
I mean, Game of Thrones had Hodor's wiener, but I mean, if you're Hodor, you're probably like in your contract, you're like, let me get this thing out. You know what I mean? If you're that actor, if you got that thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get back to it. We're so off topic.
But yeah, Aemon's cuddling with this girl who seems to be like the. What was the girl's name from the original? Rosalind?
Yeah, Roz.
Like she's the favorite, or at least she's Aegon's favorite.
I don't know if you remember in season 1 when Kristen Cole and Aemon go looking for Aegon. I think it's episode 9 or whatever. They pass a brothel and this girl's there.
Okay,
it's the same actress. I didn't know this. I heard this in a video or something because he was with this girl last week too. And gotcha. Aegon kind of calls him out for it, like, "Oh, this was your first."
Right.
So a lot of people were like, why is he kind of like have this weird attachment to this girl? Is it like motherly? Aegon seems to think it has to do with like, oh, he's a one woman guy. So he seems to not either not care or pretend to not care, at least get jealous about this girl. Because he's like, your squire can have her. I'm moving on to other things. And then we hear later, like, oh, where's Aemon? We don't know. But
right.
Wherever it is, it's not good. He's with Vhagar. So.
Right. Yeah, no, it was, if there was anything to, like, make fun of Aemon for, would have been, like, why are you, like, cuddling up with this whore?
I thought Aemon was going to hit him. Because, like, Aemon's more badass than Aegon for sure. But I think, it's one of the things where he's getting called out for the thing that he is most vulnerable, self-conscious about, you know what I mean? Like this is the thing that like he's fucked up about.
What?
Is like being with this girl. Like he even said in the last episode, he's like, I was with you when they came to kill me. They would have came to kill me, but I was with you. Right. So I think he kind of like feels weird about this whole relationship. I mean, relationship anyway. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I don't know what to think about the relationship other than like why he gets in the fetal position and cuddles up next to her. Like he's got some trauma that he's dealing with. But then, like he's getting made fun of, and then he just kind of stands up and walks out, like head held high, cock swinging, and yeah. So yeah, Aemon's a long story. I feel like he wants to kind of respect his brother, and then like something like this happens, and he's like, "Fuck you, dude!" Like that's why I'm riding out on Vhagar, and you're here drinking with the squire.
And again, it's another parallel to him and Daemon. Like Daemon left Rhaenyra saying, like, "Okay, yeah, I'm riding out. I'm gonna work for you, but like I'm not listening to you. I'm doing what I want, what I think's best." Seems kind of like that's where Aemon's at. It's like, okay, I'm still on your side. Everything I do is still in your name, but like you're not in charge of me. I do what I want.
Yeah. All right, let's keep rolling. Quick next scene. Rhaenyra's with the toys of the young ones, and then she reads Alicent's letter.
We don't see it.
We don't get to see it. Then we get Kristen and Gwaine riding out. Gwaine wants to go sleep under a roof and drink a little bit at this inn, like not following Kristen's orders. And Kristen looks up to the sky. And
they caught with their pants down in the middle of a field.
Middle of the field, not where you want to be.
I do like how when they show it from Baela's perspective. Well, first off, Moondancer is I love Moondancer is a cool ass looking dragon.
It's like green and blue, and
it's like white and black with like tiger stripes.
Yeah, I have to look at it again. Maybe I don't know why I was seeing blue. And
as a guy who is like big and should relate more with Vhagar, I don't know. I like the real nimbleness of the dragons, but I also like how when they show it like from her perspective, you see like the shine. There's like a glint off the armor. It's like, okay, it would be hard to see from up there because she's so high up, but like you would be able to see.
Maybe I'm just like it is hard. Sometimes I feel like I'm writing my notes too much that I might miss it. I might miss a detail or two. So I'll have to go back and see it. But yeah, it was cool that I almost thought that it was like Bela didn't see shit, but what is it, Moon Dancer?
Moon Dancer, yeah.
Moon Dancer saw it and then like made the noise like, hey, look here, like that's where we're heading. And she boom dives after him, and we're racing to the trees. I thought that was cool. I was waiting for, there was two things I was waiting for. One, I told you last episode, Bela is next to go. She's quick on the chopping block. I was ready for like an arrow to kind of like an arrow just kind of catch her. Yeah. And then I was gonna, if she did die, then I was gonna be like, shit, they're gonna bring Rhaena back and like do a whole dragon claim thing, like just kind of throw her in that seat. So I'm still thinking Bela goes soon. But I was also then waiting for a little Dracarys action, maybe just scare him a little bit. But obviously, when she goes back, it's like I wasn't gonna attack. I was at the point, but I did ride after him a little bit.
Yeah, so that's the next scene. The next scene is they're back. She's back, and Dragonstone kind of giving the report to Rhaenyra, like, I saw Criston Cole. She's like, you shouldn't have seen Criston. Like, I told you to survey from high up. She's like, well, I didn't engage, but I wasn't high up. It's kind of what she ends up admitting. And again, pretty much everyone's like, we gotta fight.
Yeah, it's time.
Like, we've heard, it's not just Bela. We've heard from Ravens too. They're on their way to Rosby. Is that what they said?
Castle Rosby. It's right there. We know where
Criston
Rosby's at.
Exactly. Criston Cole's on his way there. There's a guy from Rook's West who's like, I'm out. He's basically the Crownlands guy. He's like, I got to defend my own shit. Sorry, I'm out. Some of this happened in the normal books with the Riverlands people, like with Edmure. They're like, Gregor's just fucking everybody up. I got to go do my own thing. People are like, we got to act, and Rhaenyra's like, I'll consider. So again, she's pussyfooting around, kind of doing.
I mean, I think she is considering it, but she wants to try before we actually do this thing. Like, let me try to exercise every possibility before it becomes dragon on dragon war.
And I get it, like they're drawing it out. It's just, I as a book fan, I'll say this: I don't know if I love it because at this point, it's definitely like Rhaenyra doesn't give a fuck, Alicent doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck. We're fighting. Like, but by the time the sons are dead, we are fighting. Like, there's no turning back. I don't hate the wrinkle they're throwing in, but I don't know. I think they're softening Rhaenyra a lot. Like, they're making her way less.
Yeah.
Like, way too nice on the fence about it.
Yeah, I got you. She's not Rhaenyra the Cruel.
Exactly. Like, there is a point where she is kind of Rhaenyra the Cruel, like, which was the title of the last episode. In this one, like, she's not Rhaenyra the Cruel at all. She is on the fence, which, again, I think they're showing very well that being on the fence can also be equally as bad as being too cruel or too nice. Like, she's too on the fence, for sure, is what Rhaenyra is right now. But I don't know. Again, it's one of the things where maybe I'm just being snobby because it's not how it was in the books. She's definitely more intentioned, but... Yeah,
I mean, obviously I don't have that deal. So then we go back to Harrenhal with Daemon in what seems to be I'll give what I thought it was. I didn't think it was a dream, but then it's a Weirwood dream.
Yeah, I really like this entire sequence.
It's got some old gods fucking with him.
First off, he's in Harrenhal and the door shaking. Like, what's the thing we know about? I think it's even mentioned in the show, but definitely in the books, the whole ghost of Harrenhal.
The ghost of Harrenhal. I mean, how about him, like, not trusting the people in Harrenhal? He double locked the door with some swords.
Exactly.
It's like, fuck y'all.
And again, maybe we're wrong about, maybe it doesn't actually leak in Harrenhal. Maybe that's just part of the dream, right? Because it, like you said,
that shit was leaking. Come on. You saw the state of the building.
I agree. Yeah, so he goes in this room. There's a blonde-haired woman with, like, rocking a baby.
Really cool to see young Millie Alcock?
Millie, I don't know. Young Rhaenyra. I was hoping that as part of season 2, we'd get flashbacks to, like, parts of that, like, we missed out on in season 1 with a young character, with the young actresses. But I think this is just as cool, where they're doing, like you said, Weirwood dreams.
A Weirwood dream of, like, the version of Rhaenyra that maybe he loved first, right? Like, it's like, this is... I don't understand... So young Rhaenyra's like, oh, what you always do, you do things and then you run away, right? And I'm here to pick up the pieces. Where I guess that's what she's doing. She's picking up. She's literally picking up the pieces of Jaehaerys' head and sewing it back on.
Kind of like when she, and I think it gets mentioned when she talks to. I think it gets mentioned when she talks to Alicent too, when she's like, how Allison says, like, how can you expect things to be done after what you did to my son? And Rhaenyra's like, you killed Jace or Luke. And she's like, I didn't mean for that to happen. And Rhaenyra's like, I didn't mean for this shit to happen. But it's like, it's on our heads now. It's like, it just bubbles up. Whoever's the top in charge, it's on your head what happens under your command. So, exactly. And then he cuts out, he realizes it's a dream, or he wakes up from the dream. He's standing in front of the Harrenhal, which again, to me, it looked like this was outside of the castle.
It looked like it would have been in like whatever Godswood garden that like Rhaenyra and Alicent were sitting by the tree at. So
okay, to me it looked like more outside the normal ring, but I guess it doesn't really matter because Arya has chapters here, like in the normal series, where she's like slashing branches. I did think it was cool. Again, it was one of the things where I was writing my notes and I looked up and there was that one overhead shot of him outside the tree. But before that happens, I guess there's a random lady behind him.
Yeah. She's a green seer.
You're
gonna die in this place.
Melisandre vibes, right? Doesn't Melisandre tell Varys that? Not Melisandre tells Varys, me and you will both die in this land, right? Talking about in Westeros in general.
But they were just talking about Westeros. This lady seems like you're gonna die in this courtyard.
In the Harrenhal Godswood. Yeah, who knows? What do you think about that? I definitely have thoughts about that, but I can't say it because they're spoiler related.
So again, I'm ready for this Battle of Harrenhal. So I'm fully expecting what I predicted last time, which was Aemon versus Daemon dragon fight, which makes sense now. Where's Aemon? We don't know. Yeah, so I'm expecting that. I don't want him to die. Some of the characters, like, you can't have them die. Like, they're too good at characters, but they got to die. I know they're all going to die for the most part. So, and time gets them all, so it's not like they're still running around. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to say more?
No, you're good. I've just more. It's hard to say things with it if you don't want to go into it. So yeah, we'll just move on.
Like, yeah, what are you gonna tell me? Are you gonna tell me how he dies?
No. I was just gonna say this woman becomes more of a character. Not even like Fire. The way we get it in Fire and Blood, it's not even like we get POVs. Like,
yeah,
she is just definitely someone I'm excited to see more of. I'll say.
Is she a strong?
There's speculation that she's potentially a bastard strong in the books. I'll say, but I think that's again, like I said, speculation.
Strongs have been getting it all, man. There's a lot of strong bastards running around.
A lot of strongs.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, Daemon's good. You know, at some point he's gonna die, whether it's old age or war. I don't think it's old age, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Next scene, Rhaenyra in the library. Mysaria is there. Basically, she's like, "What can you get me into King's Landing?"
Yeah,
is where that ends up going.
Yeah, actually, we'll just run the same play back. We snuck in Daemon, we'll sneak you in. I mean, smart as shit idea. I knew the Sept right away, where it was like, oh, Alicent meets at one spot, because obviously she was doing the candles a couple episodes ago. Like, that was at the Grey Sept. Like, all right, cool. I didn't even think. Yeah, no, for sure. Do you want me to bring that up, or?
Well, I mean, it's kind of this. They keep playing to it. What I did was I just showed Jeff my notes. And I just wrote I wrote in the corner of this was like, I just wrote photo ID. I added Jeff to it because this is something that Jeff always brings up in the normal podcast. Is like, when I say normal podcast,
I stand on it.
Is like
people are doing this more like all over the place. I'm sure. Like you throw on a little disguise, you can walk anywhere you want.
Yeah, you just cover up your hair and you're good. I mean, and for most people, you probably don't have to cover up your hair. Targaryens, yes. Like, and people make fun of Daemon with his hood, but like, for real, that's all it would take. Mysaria, I think, says it to Rhaenyra. Here's like, if you're not dressed to the nines, no man looks at you twice. Like, no one's gonna notice.
And if you're not dressed to like get the man's attention too, right? Like, if you're not like
exactly, if you're not looking good, no one's gonna notice you.
Yeah. So she
just
dresses
like a septa
as a sister, right? And it's like, well, they're off limits. They're married to the church, so. Definitely no one's watching. And
so
I did
had
like
mixed feelings on this. So before we get into this last scene, I'll say I had very mixed feelings on it because it's definitely something that definitely does not happen in the books. I can't see any way that this is something that definitely that happens in the books because they seem very against each other before and after this entire thing. Which again, maybe it seems like the same way in the books, but I don't know. That being said, I really liked the scene.
The scene
was
cool.
The way they did it. I really liked it. I like how they made the prophecy make sense again or matter again.
I do like I was wondering if they were going to have that conversation, like, all right, bitch, like you're saying, like what did he say? And I like that, so I'm obviously coming in from it like they had a friendship, right? I saw the friendship after episode 1. I thought they were like in love with each other, like at least Rhaenyra was like, let's just go run away together, type of thing. So in my mind, they have this relationship that they can kind of reach back into during, before they decide to burn the world down. Alicent, I feel like is definitely, she's been that my cork is off the bottle of champagne already. Like I've been sipping this drink, where Rhaenyra has been the one that's been saving it for a special moment, right? If that makes sense.
I don't know. I don't quite know what you're saying there.
Like
earlier when you said the champagne thing, it was kind of, to me, it's the toothpaste out of the tube analogy. There's no going back.
Alicent's been brushing her teeth the moment she kind of like took what Viserys said.
I honestly don't think so. Let me cut you off. I don't think that's true until last episode, right? When Alicent and Otto were talking. And Alicent said something about like, Viserys told me Aegon should be king. And Otto's like, that doesn't matter. That's not why we did what we did. We did what we did because we could. But that happened, right? Like, I think that was an Otto Alicent scene that happened recently. And I think that's kind of what Alicent is playing into.
I mean, Otto's been saying it from the beginning, where he's like, look, that she's going to kill your kids if she's the heir.
I mean, which is true. Again, that's not really... Which is true. Like,
it doesn't need to be true. I'm fine that it could have been true.
I mean, it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't need to be, but it's always a possible.
Let's just say we're one big happy family. Everybody was cool, right? Rhaenyra gets crowned. Aegon gets to continue being the drunken fool that does whatever he wants, and Aemon can be, a good fighter with Daemon, like
sure.
Second best sword or best sword, whatever. Like they could all live their actual dreams of what they wanted to do, and nothing would have mattered. But it's these people that the Ottos of the world who are like, we can't do that because Rhaenyra's a woman, that threw everything off. Like everything could have been very cool without the influence of, I'll say, the influence of men who wanted a man to be on the throne.
The reason I feel like the books are better in some aspects is because everything you're saying is true, except for when Rhaenyra has bastard children.
Yeah.
Alicent, who's a very honorable person, is like, no. Like, I'm not accepting this anymore. Like, we're not taking her line. Those are bastards. We're taking my son.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was definitely played up in the first season. I think that, like, it would spend a little bit of time where she brought it up to Viserys multiple times after Joffrey was born. Like, look, they're bastards. They're bastards. And he's like, look, what you're saying right now, and I just saw it on social media, this scene again. Viserys is like, if what you're saying is true, that's like the worst thing that could ever happen to our family. So, like, stop saying it, basically. Like, it's almost like Otto, like, I don't care about the sins. Like, stop saying it right now. Like, we're accepting it. We're moving on.
Agree, but there's a part even in last season where Rhaenyra is like, hey, why don't we just marry Jace to Helaena and we'll be good. They'll be in, like, Jace is the heir after me. Mm-hmm. Helaena and Jace's child will be heir after them. Like, it'll end up being the same, like, Alicent, it'll end up being your line. And again, I think they did this part pretty good. Like, I don't even know if that was proposed in the books. But again, Alicent in the books would definitely be like, no, the problem is you're unfaithful. Like, she's a religious person. She's like, your son's a bastard. Like, he doesn't deserve the throne. It's kind of Alicent's point of view, which is kind of true, right?
Yeah, no. And I think if they maybe they need to keep that a little bit more, right? Like, maybe she should keep saying that. Like that,
sure.
Or not. No, like you cheated. You have bastard sons. Like, you're not the rightful heir. You shouldn't be queen because you're a bad person, and these are the reasons why. Versus, like,
exactly, to me, like, Alicent in the books is like evil, like definitely kind of on the evil side for sure. But she also has a strike of Stannis to her, where she's like, the reason I do what I do might seem evil to you, but it's because I play by the book. Yeah. Where, like, your kids are bastards, whatever. But I mean, like, the whole thing, like, Viserys doesn't have the whole slip up of saying Aegon in the books. So her taking the throne for Aegon is definitely a selfish thing, not a righteous thing. But after that, you can definitely see a lot of righteousness in what she does. Yeah. The one thing I want to say about this scene with Rhaenyra and Alicent, I think it's great because there's a part where Alicent says, like, I don't lie. I might have acted in the wrong sometimes,
Yeah,
but never
not nicely or unkindly, I think she might say.
Exactly, but never unhonestly or never untruthfully or something like that. And she's like, Viserys did say Aegon's name on his deathbed. And you can see it on Rhaenyra's face. To me, this is a Jon Snow moment, right? What does Jon Snow say? Or I think Sam says it to Jon Snow in season 8. After when Sam's telling Jon that he's the rightful king, and he also drops a bomb that Daenerys killed his family. He's like, what would you do? Right. Sam has this like, what would you do? And he's like, it's not me. And he's like, no, it is you. It would be you. I think that's kind of like a similar vibe to this here. Jon is willing to give it up to Daenerys, right? And then he finds out that, no, it actually should be you. Rhaenyra, I think for a second, when she hears Alicent say, Viserys said Aegon's name, I think she's like, this is a great excuse. I want to end the fighting.
Right.
I wanted to end it with me on the throne, but this
you think she was really thinking
out.
like, all right, cool, like, all right, he's the king. Like, if that's what Dad wanted.
I think, yes, exactly. I think she was very willing to lay it all down and be like, if that's actually what he wanted, and I believe Alicent wouldn't lie, I'll lay it up. Kind of like Jon Snow was willing to give it up. But then Sam hits him with the, no, actually it's you. And that's when Alicent hits Rhaenyra with the
prince that was promised.
The prince that was promised. And she realizes, no, fuck, you misunderstood.
Yeah.
Just like Sam hits Jon with the, it actually should be you. What would you have done with my family?
Yeah.
I think it's very similar. That's the kind of vibes I was getting when Rhaenyra.
Okay. I wasn't thinking that deep into it, but I was like jaw dropped once because you did see it in
there's a tear down her tree.
She cries, cheek. Right? She's like,
I'll give it up.
Yeah, maybe.
And you could definitely take it differently, but that's how I saw it. She's like, okay, I'm gonna give it up.
It was at least like, okay, like we can settle. You know, it would have made it easier, right, for her to walk away if that's what Daddy wanted to do. But bam, all right, Princess Promise. And the bigger revelation, I think, was Alicent realizing that she fucked up. She wasn't gonna admit it, but she knew she fucked up.
I feel like Alicent isn't like, she's definitely not the best or the most good or the nicest character, but I feel like she, like, you feel for her so much. Like, she feels guilty for things that are like partly her fault, but also like partly not her fault. Like, she is acting for the most part in good faith. The fucking Kristen thing, not so much, but like for the most part, she's acting like in good faith. Like, she has the best intentions, and she realizes that she just started this whole fucking thing over a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like the acting. I don't know. I feel like that scene, like I said, like it's not in the books, so at first glance I want to hate it, but I really like everything about this last scene with the whole. I like how they brought the prophecy back, how they made it matter. There's a ton of like the Jon Snow effect for both of them. I feel like where they're like, fuck, should be me or should it not be me? It doesn't even matter.
Well, I think the prophecy thing's cool now too, because now, right once she heard it was that, Rhaenyra's almost like, shit, I'm back in the game now. Like, oh, okay. Like I was ready to fold, but now I still have a pretty good hand. I'm gonna keep playing. Like, are you sure you don't want to fight? Now you gotta fight. Like now I'm swinging back. Alicent, what do you want to do? And Alicent's like, it's too far gone. Kristen's on the ride. We don't even know. Aemond is Aemond. Do you know where he's at? And boom, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. I think like on to all what you're saying is like, I feel like this, and I hope they don't keep trying to make people soft, right? They keep softening all the characters, making them slightly less evil, more good intentioned than they seemed in the books.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like a great part to be like, all bets are off. Rhaenyra knows she's in the right. Alicent knows she's in the wrong, which is kind of where we are in the books. In the books, like that's how it is.
Yeah.
Alicent is 100% stealing
Rhaenyra's the heir,
shit.
and Alicent stole the throne.
He's 100%. So it seems like that's kind of we with this episode we got there, but we got there in a way that is kind of has softened the characters more, which I understand for the show. We want to have people on both sides, but I feel like we can go all bets are off now.
Yeah, well, they wanted to show this friendship one more time, where they like, you know, I watched the Fox and the Hound today, old Disney show, right, where you have Copper and Todd
showing your kid.
I was watching it with JJ, then he went to sleep, so then it was just me, and it's one of my favorite.
A while. I feel like that's a great movie that I've only seen like 5 times.
Oh my god, it's phenomenal! It's one of my favorite ones, so I watched it again. So you have Copper and Todd, who are a fox and a hound, best friends, right? And they get to play, and then you have Copper becomes a hunting dog and becomes pissed off because Chief, the other dog, falls and breaks his leg while chasing Todd, and Copper's like, "I'm gonna avenge you, Todd." Or I'm going to avenge Chief, and I'm going to catch you, Todd. And then
so what? They fall apart. The dog and the fox and the hound that are friends. They fall apart.
That's big.
Okay.
It's a fox getting hunted by the hunting dog type of thing.
Okay.
And then at the end, there's a bear, and the fox saves the hound from the bear, and then the dog is like, "All right, let me stand in front of the hunter before you get shot," and they're back to being friends, but they're friends, but separately. Like, they can't be friends anymore, right? Because you're a fox and I'm a hunting dog.
Yeah, society has told them they can't be friends, but they are.
It's kind of where, like, I got that vibe with this thing. Like, we were friends. Obviously, we can't be friends right now, but, like, you still remember that time that we were playing hide and go seek in the Godswood, Ellison, right? Like, we had fun together. They were doing the old remember when stuff, but...
Yeah, so I liked a lot about this last scene. It did give me vibes... 100% of Tyrion and Jaime, right, meeting in the show under the dragon skulls. Like, that's something I cannot imagine happening in the books. Like, they are not friends, period. Right. In the books, but in the show they meet and they're.
Oh, you're saying season 8 at the end.
Season 7 or season 8. Right?
Yeah.
Tyrion meets with somebody in the dragon skull, like underneath.
Right before Bronn, the big.
I think it was Bronn. Exactly. Yeah. I think it was Bronn, Jaime, and Tyrion. Like, they kind of gave me those kind of vibes. It's Assassin's Creed style. One thing that's unbelievable is there's a part where Rhaenyra dresses the septa.
Yep.
Just like folds in with all these other septas. Like, imagine you're a football player walking to practice. There's like 4, 5, 6 DBs, defensive backs in the group. You're walking to practice, and all of a sudden, there's a 7th guy in a helmet and full pads.
Yeah,
like, who is this dude we've never met before? Like,
there's probably so many. There's probably so many septas at the Great Sept, and like maybe just septas that are coming from all. I get it. She obviously did it at the last kind of second to walk by the Kingsguard, so that like she could just be like, oh, okay, let me fall in line real quick. Like, and she was in the back. It wasn't like she was like leading the charge or.
True. I guess the last thing I'll say as my super nerd pushing my glasses back on my bridge of my nose is the Great Sept of Baelor, where Ned gets beheaded, is named after Baelor, the King Baelor, who hasn't lived yet, hasn't been born yet. So there shouldn't really be a Great Sept. But King's Landing.
There's just.
I mean, I guess there is a Great Sept, but like we know in the normal book series, there's also a Sept inside the Red Keep.
She didn't need to she didn't need to travel. She didn't have to.
Exactly. There's a part where like Mysaria like, there's one place where Alicent goes that's not inside the castle.
Yeah.
And like then you see Rhaenyra dressed as a Sept in, which I understand, but like this is not the Great Sept of Baelor. You're right that there probably is a Great Sept, but.
I knew it was going to be Sept. Actually, before she said that it was outside the castle, I thought they were going to get Rhaenyra to sneak in during bath time. Because that's the only other time that she's really alone.
Yeah.
That's it. Predictions. Baela's catching it soon. Aemon, Daemon fight. Next one. Daemon being there by himself, a little suspicious.
Yeah, again, that's one thing that's not the same in the books. Like, it's kind of unrealistic
he'd be
as
with the whole army.
But I feel like they would just fight him, even if it was just 10 of them. Like, we kill you, your dragon gets pissed, but whatever. Like, what does he do after you're dead? So, yeah, I feel like it's a little unrealistic, him being there by himself. And I feel like in the books, there definitely is, like, at least a small land force as well. But, yeah, kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know what else can be done. Corlys is actually going to maybe do something cool and do something on the Blackwater.
All right. Well, we should have some battles kicking off on the land soon.
I got one question, and you don't have to answer it. How many seasons of the House of Dragon? I know that the 3rd is approved.
I think they said either 3 or 4.
Okay. So, like, we're close to halfway, and we've had Jaehaerys a kid, and...
Again, I would say that season 1 was more of like a prelude to the Dance of the Dragons. Like, the dance kicks off when Viserys dies, is when, like, what you call the dance of the dragons starts happening.
But the actual dancing of dragons is, I'm going to say next episode. I'm going to say we're seeing dragon on dragon next episode. Okay. But I'm also like, it's too early if it's going to be 4 seasons. So like,
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we have to see it soon. We have seen very little dragons, especially this season, besides like Daemon leaving somewhere or landing somewhere. That's pretty much it. Or Baela, I guess.
Or just like a dragon flying over the guy on the beach, or Sea Smoke being out there being lonely.
Exactly. So, I mean, they have a budget. They're going to use the budget. There should be dragon versus dragon battles.
They also know that
there's a lot of dragon versus dragon battles.
They also know that they're going to make a boatload of money.
Sure.
I don't understand too why this shit's all CGI. Like, I don't understand why it costs so much money to make a dragon scene.
Well, I mean, CGI I think is expensive. I think it'll probably get cheaper very soon with AI stuff, but at the moment, I think CGI for dragons is very expensive.
So then you have like, I get it. Okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, no, we're just. I feel like we're running out of time for like cool shit. But I can't see everybody dying. Like, how many more people are gonna die this season? Like major characters, 2, 4.
I'm not gonna. Spoil
I know you're not
gonna
gonna spoil, but that's like just gonna. I'm just saying where my mind. I'm asking rhetorical questions. Like that's where my mind's at. Like,
I guess what I would point out is that last season covered 30 years, right? First season covered from 101 to 123, 133. This one's going to cover 1 or 2. Exactly. So the entire Dance of the Dragons takes place in 2 years.
Yeah.
So the lead up took place in 30. That was the first season. Now we're into a 3-year period. So again, these are a lot more back-to-back things. I think we're trying to get more character moments because unlike in season 1 where characters were being born and then killed before we even knew their name.
Yeah.
Like the people that are born are the people we have, which is again, I think why they're kind of slow rolling Alicent's other son in because like he's a character. I understand why they didn't introduce him in season 1 because there was a lot of characters coming and going, but he becomes more important as the war actually goes on.
Yeah.
But I think there's way less introduction and then like deaths of people. Not that there aren't a lot of deaths, but like there's not a lot of introductions. People who are born. So
yeah. All right.
But yeah,
let's wrap it up.
We're kind of rambling. We're definitely rambling. Holy shit, an hour and 40 minutes plus the 5 bit from the beginning, an hour 50. Way too long. We'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully it's not as long. Episode 4. Like, subscribe. Bye.
Bye.